Hi guys, my name is Isa. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about fear of judgment. Let's get started. If you are someone who has been criticized by their parents their whole lives and now you fear judgment from other people, this is the video for you. I want to share a little bit of my experience with the criticism that I received growing up so you can better understand how I relate to the message that I'm sharing. After that, I want to explain why judgment feels so scary and what are the steps that we can do to stop being scared of judgment. My dad, both my parents really, would criticize me over everything. I was constantly criticized over the things that I ate, my cravings, the things that I didn't like to eat, if I exercised, if I didn't exercise enough, or if I didn't exercise at all. I was also criticized over how I looked like, the things that I liked in general, how I dressed, certain comments I did, how I expressed myself. I don't know, the list just goes on and on and on. I think the criticism that affected me the most was my dad. He was the one who basically forced me into a diet and conditioned his love based on my performance. So basically, if I followed the diet perfectly, if I exercised every day, if I lost weight, I would have a loving father. And if I didn't, he would ignore me or he would withdraw his love and he would just be constantly criticizing everything I did. Literally, everything I did, he would criticize. It's so exhausting. I grew up wanting to lose weight, right? And I think I've thought about losing weight almost every day of my life. I never fully understood why I wanted to lose weight. It became so automatic that I just thought that I wanted to lose weight because that's just my main goal in life, losing weight. But through my healing journey, I've realized weight loss became a strategy for me to control judgment. So my desire to be healthy or my desire to be thin was my desire to be a version of myself that wasn't punishable, wasn't criticized, wasn't judged, and wasn't rejected. Because that's exactly what happened if I wasn't thin or I wasn't healthy when I was a child. My mind visualizes my dad as someone who was preparing me for the world. I interpreted his criticism and his judgment as this is what I'm going to receive the moment that I step out of my house. This is how people are going to criticize me. This is how people are going to judge me. So the way that I'm performing and the way that I'm people pleasing to my dad is a way that I have to perform and people please to the other people. It got to a point where I was afraid of leaving my house. I was so afraid of going to parties. I remember there was this one party. I had just moved to the city where I now live and I had met a few friends and I just wanted to go out, I wanted to enjoy myself. So I called my friend. I told her like, let's go out to this club. It's like a Latin party. Let's go have some fun. I was so excited. I tried on 5 outfits and I felt fat in every single outfit. So I texted my friend and I told her, you know what, I'm actually tired. I don't really feel like going. And I didn't go. I just had this sensation that if I left my house in any of those outfits, people would think of me as someone who was ugly and someone who was fat. And any guy who saw me would just look at me and not even turn their head twice. Like they would just be like, ew. I just felt more comfortable at home. If you really think about it, why did I feel so comfortable at home? Because there were no people at my house looking at my body, commenting on my body, judging my body other than myself. Compared to if I went outside, I would be surrounded by people and I genuinely felt like everyone would be judging me. If you had someone all up in your face, judging you, criticizing you, making comments about how you look like, how much you weighed, of course you're going to have this sensation that everyone has an opinion about how you look like, how you express yourself, how you feel things, because that's what you experienced. But that's not actually reality. You go outside and people are not actually judging you as much as your parents would judge you. I know that it's not the same on social media. A lot of people feel more comfortable criticizing other people through any platform, but I'm talking mostly in real life, day to day. If you're no longer in your household and you're no longer in school, if you're like at work or I don't know, going out to the mall, at least from my experience, I haven't had anyone walk up to me and call me ugly. I've had that in high school and I think middle school, but I've never had that as an adult. Or I've never had someone like criticize me straight to my face as my parents would. It's basically what I'm saying. Am I saying that people don't criticize behind your back? I'm not saying that. People do love to criticize, do love to judge, but most of the time, people who criticize and people who judge are people who are insecure in themselves. If you are secure in yourself and you love yourself and you love life, you feel no need to go out of your way to criticize someone. When there is someone who's criticizing, why do we assume that we are the problem? If someone is criticizing me over my body, why do I assume that my body is the problem instead of they are criticizing me and they're judging me because they are people who criticize and judge, not because of my body? You know why? Because when the next person comes by, they're going to change topic and they're going to criticize them and judge them. If you're scared of posting content, yeah, people might look at your video and they might leave a nasty comment before going to another video and leaving another nasty comment. If you're receiving judgment or criticism from someone, most of the time it's not really your fault. It's just people who love to criticize and love to judge. That made me question, what even is judgment? If people just judge because there are people who judge, why are we so scared of judgment? Judgment from your parents. I feel like I'm referencing my parents or like everyone's parents so much. But what can I say? It comes from childhood. I don't know, read a psychology textbook. When we experience criticism and judgment from our parents, we experience two different kinds of pain. We experience attachment pain, which is when our caregiver, who is supposed to care for us and support us and keep us safe and make us feel loved, doesn't like us. When your caregiver doesn't like you, it literally feels like a threat to your nervous system. Because if they don't like you, they might leave any moment. And you need them to survive. As a child, you need your parents to survive. So there's attachment pain. The second one is identity pain, which is when you believe there is something wrong with you. So, for example, my dad would criticize my eating habits. I grew up thinking that there was something wrong with me because of the things that I liked to eat or the things that I didn't like to eat. And I just felt like I was fundamentally wrong. Like I was born and there was just something wrong with me the moment that I was born. And that's a different kind of pain. When you think there's something wrong with you, when you think you're not good enough, when you see yourself as a failure, that's another kind of pain. So those are the two kinds of pain that we experienced when we were judged as kids. Why was it so painful? Why is judgment so painful? Why is that pain so unbearable? Because as children, we didn't know how to deal with the pain. If you were a child, most likely your parents who were constantly criticizing you didn't teach you how to be there for yourself, didn't teach you how to self-regulate, didn't teach you how to ground yourself or soothe your body, didn't teach you any affirmations to build your self-concept. So when you're a child and your caregiver, the person that you love the most or the person that's on your face all of the time, insults you and makes you feel like crap and you start feeling like a failure, you're experiencing an overwhelming wave of emotions and you don't even know what to do with it. You don't know how to make yourself feel better. You don't even know that your parents are wrong when they're criticizing you. You assume that they're right. So you're just experiencing so many uncomfortable emotions that it feels like a threat. In other words, that pain feels so unbearable, it feels like a threat to the point where you need to go above and beyond to avoid it. So, how can you build a healthy relationship with food, with exercise, with creativity, with expression, with your own emotions, with yourself if you feel like you're constantly under threat? Your mind thinks, if I don't know how to deal with the pain, I'm going to avoid the pain. And that's why you're going to see people shrink themselves so that other people don't judge them. People pleasing so that other people don't reject them. Desperately trying to lose weight. You're going to see people shutting their mouth because they're afraid of sharing their opinion. You're going to see people shrinking their emotions because they don't want to be too much and drive someone away. We were never taught how to deal with the emotion. Our next best thing is avoiding the emotion altogether. Now, what do I mean when I say we try to avoid that judgment? A lot of people anticipate judgment. When I was dressing up for the party, I started anticipating judgment. I started telling myself, they're gonna think I'm ugly, they're gonna call me fat, they're gonna laugh behind my back, they're gonna talk about me to their friends, and they're just going to mock me. That is me anticipating judgment. But you know what that is also? That is me judging myself. When you anticipate judgment, you judge yourself. Let me read something from my journal. When I imagine people judging me, my body reacts as if it's already happening. I feel fear and shame immediately, like when my dad used to judge me. Because the feeling is so strong, my brain thinks the solution is to avoid situations where judgment could happen. I don't naturally think about how I'm going to support myself if judgment happens. I only think of preventing the feeling. So anticipation itself becomes a form of self judgment, and my body experiences things twice, before and during. So when you are anticipating judgment, you're actually projecting your insecurities to other people. Think about it. I didn't even know who was going to be in the party, and I was new to the city. So even if I knew some of the people, I didn't really know how they treated people, how they would express themselves, if there are actually people who criticize other people. I didn't know anything about them. So why am I assuming that they're going to say certain things about me? And for that matter, why am I assuming everyone around me, whether it's at school, at work, at a restaurant, at a club, whatever, why am I assuming that everyone is always going to have the same three thoughts about me? I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm not enough. Think about it. Why do you assume everyone around you, even though it's always different people, are going to think the same things about you? Whatever you are so afraid of people thinking about you is what you think about yourself. External judgment would just confirm your insecurities. But what you anticipate in judgment is what you think of yourself. In that moment, I thought, I am fat, I am ugly, I am not enough, no one wants to date me. Those are genuinely beliefs that I had about myself. But I was so blinded over my fear of feeling pain that I projected them onto other people, because that gives us a sense of control. If I can anticipate what they're thinking and I can avoid that sensation, I can avoid any situation where they criticize me, then I'm going to avoid the pain. But whenever you think of people judging you, you're actually experiencing the pain. The brain doesn't know the difference between imagination, fantasy, reality, a memory, and that's why it reacts. When you're thinking of the worst case scenario and you start feeling anxiety because your body doesn't know that it's just a thought, it literally feels like it's happening right now. Think of a memory and try to visualize yourself there and try to think of every single detail, and your body's going to start experiencing the emotions that you felt when you were in that moment. When you judge yourself, you give yourself the pain you're trying to avoid by avoiding judgment from other people. Does that make sense? So, if anticipating judgment is actually you judging yourself, where is that judgment coming from? That is your own inner critic. Everyone has an inner critic. And if you are aware enough or you start self reflecting, you might realize most of the judgment and most of the criticism that you have for yourself is the judgment and the criticism that you received when you were younger. So, that inner critic voice is most likely your parents criticizing you. But you were so young, it was so early in your childhood that you just absorbed their voice and you started repeating what they said. And that just became your belief. That just became the way that you talk to yourself. If everyone has an inner critic within themselves, what's the difference between someone who has a negative self-concept and someone who has a strong self-concept? Someone with a fragile or negative self-concept listens to the inner critic and thinks, that's authority. They're speaking facts. My inner critic is saying I'm a failure. I am a failure. I need to avoid it. I need to avoid people realizing that I'm a failure. On the other hand, someone with a strong self-concept is going to listen to the inner critic and is going to think, that's noise. That's not true. I'm not a failure. I'm valuable. I'm worthy. And that's the difference between people who are confident and not confident. Confidence is not someone who doesn't have an inner critic. It's simply someone who doesn't believe their inner critic. So if you want to build confidence, you stop believing your inner critic. With everything we just talked about, what can I do with that? What can you do with that? How can we build a different relationship with judgment? My goal is to decenter judgment. I don't want to care what people think of me. I don't want to care what my dad thinks of me. I want to care what I think of me. If you don't like yourself and you're constantly judging yourself, you have a bigger problem than what other people think of you. Most people are not going to criticize you to your face, but you're here criticizing yourself over and over and over and over and over again. So if you don't like yourself, if you're criticizing the way that you look like, the way that you express yourself, the things that you like, that's a bigger problem than other people judging you or other people criticizing you. How can we make judgment less scary? As I said, why is judgment scary? Because it gives us pain and we don't know how to deal with that pain. So in order to make judgment less scary, we are going to learn how to deal with the pain of being judged. Just because we didn't know how to deal with it as children doesn't mean that we don't get to learn right now. And this is so beneficial because it's not only helping you when you're judged, but just any time that you don't feel good. Any time that you're crying, any time that you're dysregulated, this will help you. So, how can you be there for yourself? First, we validate ourselves. Being judged and being criticized hurts, especially if it hits one of our insecurities. So, if you're criticized and it hurts, just validate your pain, validate how you're feeling. And just remember, just because you're feeling pain right now doesn't mean that you're always going to feel pain. Feeling pain is temporary. So even though it hurts right now, even though you're crying right now, it's okay. Okay doesn't mean never feeling pain. In my opinion, okay simply means being safe. So, yes, I am safe even when I'm hurt. I am safe even when I'm crying. So, I'm okay. You can remind yourself that other people's opinion is not the truth, and you can remind yourself what you want to believe about yourself. Whatever you believe about yourself, if it's negative, it most likely comes from the fact that someone made you believe that. You're an adult now, you can change that. If you want to believe that you're beautiful and that you're worthy and that you're capable, you can believe that. The only reason you don't is because someone made you think that you're not because it's actually true. Remind yourself of who you are and remind yourself that you don't need to hold space for other people's opinion. Next, talking to a safe person. This can be God, this can be a therapist, this can be a friend, this can be your sister, your brother. If you feel hurt and you feel like you need to talk about it with someone, you can. You don't have to deal with it alone. Next, soothing your body. Learning to soothe your body is a big one because we feel the pain in our body, and a lot of people ignore that. Or a lot of people who are in their healing journey focus more on where the pain is coming from, what does it mean, what was the trigger, instead of feeling it in the body. When you're feeling the pain in your body, scan your body. Where do you feel it? Do you feel it in your chest? Do you feel it in your abdomen? Do you feel it, I don't know, in your head? Do you feel tension? Do you feel agitated? What do you feel? If you could visualize your pain, what would you see? What would make you feel better? Would drinking a hot cup of water make you feel better? Would putting your face in a bowl of water and ice make yourself feel better? That's what I normally do when I feel anxious. I grab a bowl, water and ice, and I put my face in and out for a few seconds, and it helps me calm down so fast. Maybe you need a shower, maybe you need a quick snack, maybe you need a hug, maybe you need to cry, maybe you need to journal, maybe you just need to sit in silence with that pain. You can't really avoid an emotion. You can either go through it or avoid it and avoid it and avoid it. The difference is the person who goes through it no longer has to deal with it. The person who avoids it comes back to it over and over again. So it's your choice. Another one, you leave the situation. If you find yourself with someone who's judging you, leave. You don't have to stay. I understand that this might be different if you're still living with your parents or if you find yourself in school, but when you leave that environment, you can leave if that situation ever comes up. You know, if you're at a restaurant and someone is being mean, you can just leave. You can just report them, honestly. You can just get them kicked out. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. You know, if you have a friend who's constantly judging you, you can cut the friendship. I haven't spoken to my dad in 4 years. That's why I'm glowing. That's why I'm radiant, right? Because I cut people from my life who are criticizing me and who are judging me. So you can leave that friendship, you can leave that situation if it's not serving you. And then last one, which I low-key already mentioned it, you cry and you recover. I don't know why people are so against crying. I cry all the time. To the point where whenever I cry, I'm not even surprised because I just know it's natural. Crying is so natural, and I grew up without a safe space. When I was at home, I couldn't cry. And whenever I share it, I just realize how toxic it sounds. I wasn't allowed to cry in my own house. So now that I no longer live in my house, if I want to cry, I'm going to cry. If I want to feel my emotions, I'm going to feel my emotions. I have so many emotions. My heart is so big, I feel everything, and I'm going to feel them. And guess what? I cry and then I feel better after crying. I cry and I process my emotions and I feel better. I promise you, I end up feeling better than the person who avoids crying and represses their emotions. So, do you want to feel better, or do you want to have the consequences of repressing your emotions? Because there are consequences. Now that we know exactly how to be there for ourselves when we receive judgment or criticism, we can start implementing them whenever we receive external judgment or whenever we judge ourselves. And isn't that exciting? We have a plan. Now, judgment isn't that scary because now, if I am judged, I know what to do. I know how to be there for myself. I know that I have support. I know that I have different options. That's so exciting. It is no longer unbearable. It is no longer something so scary because you don't know what to do. You no longer have to avoid it. You no longer have to lose weight to avoid someone judging you because now you have a plan. You no longer have to avoid your creative side and avoid uploading content because you're afraid of what people might say, because if they say something and it makes you upset, you know how to be there for yourself. Now that we know how to deal with judgment and whatever feelings it brings up, how can we stop believing our inner critic? Your inner critic can also be called your limiting beliefs. Any limiting belief is any belief that stops you from your potential. Any belief that stops you from loving yourself, any belief that stops you from enjoying life the way that you would without that belief. So it could sound like, I'm not good enough, I'm not capable, I'm never going to make it, I'm gonna die alone, I am not beautiful, I am not enough, I am a failure, I never achieve anything, nobody loves me, there's something wrong with me. It can sound so different for everybody, but if it's something that's bringing you down, it is most likely a limiting belief. Changing limiting beliefs is such a big topic. I'm not going to include it in this video, but I do have another video that deep dives into how to change limiting beliefs and where do they come from? How do we understand them? How can we challenge them? The video is called Changing Limiting Beliefs and Self-Concept. Check it out. It is really good. Not that I'm biased or anything, but it's really good. So after we know how to deal with the pain and how to comfort ourselves, and we know how to change our limiting beliefs and change our self-concept so that we quiet down that inner critic or we stop believing that inner critic, what's next? I think all of that is like 90% of the way. We're almost there. The last 10% would be people actually judging you or criticizing you, actually receiving external judgment. You have to understand, people will always have an opinion. People are very opinionated. You did not come in this world to please people or impress people or convince people that you are a certain way or that they should think of you a certain way. You came into this world to be yourself and express yourself, share your story, do the things that you like. Are people going to comment? Maybe. And you know why it doesn't matter? Because even if they comment, you don't need to care. Caring is an option. Worrying about something is an option. So the moment that you listen to external judgment, you have the option to engage with it, ruminate, make yourself small. Or you also have the option of, that's not what I think of myself. I didn't even ask their opinion. Who are they? Are they even impressing me? Do I even like them? Do I even respect them? Whatever. It is an option. The same way that you can focus on people talking negatively of you, you can also focus on people talking positively of you. If that's not like soothing enough, just think about it. Most people are going to think stuff about you and not even tell you. They're going to talk about it behind your back. If they talk about it behind your back, it's not even your business. Why are you going to go out of your way to imagine what they might say of you? That's ridiculous. You don't even know if they're actually saying that. So if you're going to worry about something they're actually saying to your face, not what you might think they might say with whatever person, okay? Are they talking about you? I don't know. I don't care. Whatever. Next, if they're actually telling you to your face, leave. Don't surround yourself with people who are mean. Don't surround yourself with people who are constantly judging you. Why would you do that? You might as well just go back and live with your parents. Like, surround yourself with people who give you constructive criticism. Surround yourself with people who shower you with love, who shower you with compliments, who shower you with support. Saturate your life with so much love from the people around you, from God, from yourself, that whenever someone judges you or criticizes you, it's whatever. Why? Because you have a strong self-concept. If it hurts, you know how to be there for yourself. And you have so much love in your life that whatever they say about you doesn't matter. Isn't that amazing? We now have a plan. We now have a plan to make judgment so small. That's so cool. Now, before I leave, I will suggest another video about being okay with people disliking you. And of course, the video is by me. It's called Make Peace with Being Disliked. Amazing video. Not that I'm biased. Anyway, we are so young and at the same time so old to be worried about what other people might say about us, or to be worried about other people's opinion of us or what they might criticize us for. We don't have time for that. We already dedicated so many years to that. I spent years and years and years worrying about what people might say about me. Why don't we spend the rest of our years, because we don't know how many years we have left, why don't we spend the rest of our years falling in love with ourselves, falling in love with life, and falling in love with the people around us, people with genuine hearts, to the point where everything in our lives is so good that we don't care what people think of us. When you like yourself and you like your life and you like the people around you, everything else is whatever. Trust me. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about you. You have so many amazing things ahead of you. I have so many amazing things ahead of mine, and I just feel excited. I feel like I want to share it with you and have you guys share it with me. Check out my nails. I did like strawberry milk. I did like cow print, and then some of them are like chrome prints. So cool. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out my channel for more episodes. Bye.